Okay, so let's test this amplifier. It's a SoundQubed U1 8000. It is a full bridge amplifier. I've got 4 8-ohm resistors connected to it, and it is going through the clamp for the base head garage watt meter. And what we're going to do in this video, this demonstration, is we're going to see how much power that we can get out of this amplifier. Again, it's not a maximum power test for this amplifier. We'll see how much power that we can get out of this amplifier with just this one AGM battery and just this one 100 amp power supply. And the power supply is set to 14.65 volts right there. 14.65 volts. So I'm going to set this to minimum. So that way it holds the minimum voltage. That's going to be your voltage drop. And then that's your maximum current. That's your clamp. It's clamping the current coming into the amplifier. And right here, I'm not really concerned with the waveform on the screen because I know it's going to be clean. But let's see what all we can get. Okay, so we're going to get the battery voltage in the screen. I'm just going to leave the backlight off because y'all can see it. And then we're going to get the waveform, and then we're going to get the wattage, and I'm going to start off slow. It says 40 hertz. And the voltage has not moved yet, and I'm going to suspect it's not going to move till we get about 800 or 900 watts. And it's going up one click at a time on the volume. Okay, so the voltage has dropped just a little bit. That's the fan coming on the power supply. So there's 800 watts. 900, and this is continuous power, by the way. So right there at 1,000 watts, you can see we're at 12.5 volts. Okay, I just stopped the test right there. So we're down to battery voltage, and it was at 1,000 watts. Here, let me peak hold again with this one. I'm just going to unpause at the same spot. So we're at about 1,100 watts, and we're down to 12.38. Let me go up one click on the volume. There you go. The voltage started dropping. One click up on the volume. So we are draining the battery pretty good because we're at 12.16 volts, right? And it's not going to take long at that amount of power, just 1,400 watts. I'm just going to unpause it. It's not going to take long to get it down to 12 volts. Yep, there we go. What was that? About 5 seconds or so at 1,400 watts to get it down to 12 volts. So again, that's about 90 amps of current going into the battery. We were pulling 137 amps of current going into the amplifier, and it dropped our battery down to 12 volts within 5 seconds or so on that pull. So let's do that again. As a matter of fact, we're going to just clamp the power on the from the power supply going to the battery. Because I'm kind of curious myself. Right now, it's putting in 5.3 amps of current. I'm going to set it on maximum. So right now, that power supply is putting in 5 amps of current going into the battery. So now let's just I'm just going to I'm not going to put it on minimum. I'm just going to leave it. We're going to see where it can sustain about 12.5 volts. Just sustain it for a little while. Matter of fact, let me check my resistors. So we're 96 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, so let's so we're good on the resistors. So again, I'm just going to go up one click at a time on the volume until the voltage starts going down. You can see 48, there's 60 amps of current going into the battery, and we're at 14.5 volts. 60 amps going into the battery, and at 14.5 volts steady. Right? We're not even using the battery power yet. We're right there at the power supply. We're only using power from the power supply at this point in time. One more click. 75 amps of current going in. We're still at 14.5 volts. One more click up. There's 80 amps of current. Right? So even one click, I'm gonna go one click back down. So with this one AGM battery and a 100 amp power supply that's putting in 81 amps of current, you know, we're only using the power supply power right now. Look, it's only 850 watts. 80 amps of current going in. 80 amps of current going into the battery, not the amplifier. That's just going into the battery. Now, I've not paused it or nothing. It's still going. See, real time. It's still going. So let's see what's going into the amp. The 85 amps of current going into the amplifier. Here, let's reset but it's on max. Right, so now it's not on max. So right there, 85 amps of current going into the amplifier. Now here's just the battery going from the power supply to the battery, 78 amps. I had it on maximum before. So 78 amps going into the battery, and then going into the amplifier, 85 amps. So that's 7 amps of current that's coming from the battery itself. Quick math, right? So we're at, you know, it's been holding. Got a fan on these resistors. So we're at 121, 124, 120, 125 degrees Fahrenheit on these resistors, because it's just been currently, you know, it's been constantly running. So again, let's just go ahead and stop here. Let's just go ahead and stop here. You can screenshot all that right there. Amplifier, just a little warm, 115 degrees. That's not too bad. Power supply, that's not real bad, 90 degrees. These resistors, they'll just keep going up. I do have that fan on low. So 130, 135 degrees. So again, this video was to show, you know, these people that go out here and buy an amplifier, they spend all their money on an amplifier, but they've got a stock alternator, you know, a small alternator. That one, you know, that was putting in, what, 80 amps of current. And, you know, and that's not an unrealistic amount of current for some of these amplifiers and some of these cars. and then, you know, they just slap one AGM battery in the back, and you see the results. You know, you got about 800 watts or so, 800 or 900 watts of power that you can use, and to keep your voltage steady at your battery voltage. And that's about it. So you bought an 8,000 watt amp when you could have bought a 1,000 watt amp. Your money is better spent on electrical. Stop buying these AGM batteries. Upgrade your electrical. And I don't mean alternators. I am not for alternator first. No, I am for battery first. Battery. Build yourself a big battery bank. Lithium has changed the game. LTO is a very good chemistry. I use LTO myself. I've used Yinlong. I've used the skids, a couple different variations of the skids. LTO is a very good chemistry to use, and they're good for a broad range of voltages. So anyway, sorry for the long video, but you know, this test needed to be done. Hopefully this helps somebody to see, hey, I don't need a big 8,000 watt amplifier if I only have the stock electrical. If I'm not willing to, or if I can't provide the electrical, if I can't buy the electrical to provide the electrical for the amplifier, then there's no sense in buying the big amplifier. So buy a smaller amplifier to get you by until you can buy the proper electrical, the proper battery bank to support the power for the bigger amplifier down the road. All right, that's it for this one.